The 4 years old Kenneth Scott was in a vacation with his father and two brothers at Norway Lake near the Wisconsin border in September of 1958. The Norway Lake is surrounded by heavy forest and swamps. In the afternoon of September 28, Kenneth was following his two older brothers through the woods back to the camp, but he couldn't keep up. The older brothers arrived at the camp and realized Kenneth has vanished. A search party was immediately organized and they started to look for Kenneth. The local police organized a 1,000-man search party which consisted of helicopters, airplanes, horsemen, ground troops who worked through rain to find the boy. The area they were searching had very thick woods with swamps, bears and other wild animals. The temperature in the area dropped to 65 degrees at some nights that Kenneth was missing. On October 2nd, 1958, 4 days into the search, a helicopter crew was flying low over the trees and saw a small bundle on the ground. When the ground forces reached the bundle, they found Kenneth Scott. He was dead on a hillside quite a distance from the point where he disappeared. The boy's jacket was beside him. The searchers stated he wandered around 15 miles through swamps and had come to the high ground before deciding to rest. After examining the body, they found out Kenneth died 2 days after he went missing. Now, how did Kenneth travel 15 miles in the thick woods and swampy area of Norway Lake in 2 days? According to researchers, children with 4 to 6 years old who go missing more than 95% of the time found in about 4.5 miles radius from the point they go missing on flat ground. This distance doesn't include the swamps and thick wooded area, which means Kenneth was far outside the search guidelines recommended by the experts. Kenneth traveled more than triple the distance of the maximum recommended guidelines. What happened to Kenneth Scott in the forests of Norway Lake remains a mystery to this day. One of the most dangerous jobs in any law enforcement classification is being a hunting warden. Wardens commonly confronting people with legally loaded firearms in the middle of nowhere, and many times the law enforcement officer is alone. There are lots of incidents where wardens are confronting people who legally cannot possess firearms because they are convicted criminals, yet they believe they won't see anybody in the woods. Other times they're hunting illegally and believe no law enforcement catch them in the woods. Most of the times when an officer confronts such people, they don't have backup for tens of miles in any direction. On November 13th of 1922, two wardens with the names of David Brown, 51 years old, and Mertley Johnson, of 24 years old, had been briefed about an ongoing case of beavers missing in Big Bog Dam, Maine wildlife. The authorities believed Canadians were illegally crossing the border and taking the beavers, and they wanted this to stop. So the wildlife department sent two of his best men, David and Mertley, to camp in the area and investigate what is going on. Now, both these men were known to be extremely tough, dependable, and knew the outdoors very well. They were true professionals and would never put themselves in a dangerous situation unless they had to. They both were last seen on November 14th, one day after they arrived in the area. The plan was to investigate the area and be out on November 18th. When they didn't return back on that day, law enforcement sent units to search for the two men. Some authorities stated the two died by the guns of Canadian poachers. They sent lots of units to find the men, and they got help from the Canadian forces as well. The investigators were able to find some people who saw the two men enter the area of supposed poaching. The witnesses stated after the wardens entered the area, they heard several shots being fired in rapid succession. The 6 teams that were looking for the men on the ground never found the bodies or any poachers. After the spring, in May 2nd, 1923, around 6 months after the wardens went missing, another group of wardens were patrolling the area and were advised by some witnesses that they thought they observed a body stuck in the spillway. Wardens investigated the area and found the dead body of one of the wardens, Mertley Johnson. When they examined the body, they stated the body was in an excellent state of preservation. No comment was made on the cause of death. Another report came the day after, which witnesses stated they thought they saw a body in the Big Bog Dam area. Authorities searched the area and found the body of David Brown 1 mile from where they found his partner. The examination of both bodies didn't find any bullet wounds. The doctors stated it seems likely they have been drowned in the November when they went searching for the poachers. The decision caught many of the warden's peers by surprise because they knew the 2 men were the 2 most cautious and experienced lawmen in Maine and knew the dangers of icy water. The idea that they were drowned had very few believers. No poachers were ever found in relation to this incident. What did David and Mertley confronted when they went into the woods that caused them to fire their weapons in rapid succession? If they were alive after that event, why didn't they call for backup? Reminding you, after the 2 wardens went missing, 18 more went to the area but they didn't find any poachers. Why didn't the searchers found the bodies earlier? The spots that they found the bodies was searched before and nothing was there at those times. And who was taking the beavers? They never found any illegal hunters in the area. All these questions remain a mystery to this day. On October 19th of 1973, the Duffy family with their 2-year-old son Jimmy and 1-year-old daughter Natalie parked their truck in the Wenatchee Lake of Washington, United States. The family started to take a walk around the camp at 1 p.m. when little Jimmy started to misbehave and walk slowly. The mother was complaining to the son why he is not keeping up. The family headed back to the truck to put the kids down for a nap. The 2 kids were left in back of the truck. After that, the father went hunting and the mother took a walk by herself. After 15 minutes of hunting in the nearby location, the father came back to check on the kids and found them still asleep. The mother was still on the walk but saw her husband checking on the kids. Then he walked towards her and joined her on the walk. They were enjoying the nature when around 2:15 p.m., about 150 yards away from their truck, they heard a short scream coming from the truck. They immediately ran towards the truck and saw the truck back door open from far away. When they reached the truck, they saw Natalie and 2 cats were still asleep inside, but Jimmy was nowhere in sight. When they couldn't find Jimmy, they called the authorities, and by 3:15 p.m., police and search and rescue team was on the scene. They searched the ground around the place but couldn't find any footprints related to the boy. At 4:20 p.m., the father arrived at the camp stating he couldn't find his son. The deputies re-interviewed the mother and asked her to explain the circumstances of disappearance. The authorities interviewed their father again and he stated the scream they heard was similar to a baby crying. The following day, canine dogs were at the scene, but they couldn't find anything. For 5 days following the boy's disappearance, 150 men searched the area and found nothing. At 8:30 p.m. on October 24th, the lead deputy called the father aside and told him he didn't believe his story about his son's disappearance. He said the child had never been in the area. He told the father he believed the child was accidentally or intentionally killed and disposed of, and his story was just a cover-up. The deputy then asked him if his wife had a boyfriend, which he replied by, "Not that I know of." At 11:30 the following morning, after 6 days of searching, the formal search operation was terminated. After extensive follow-up by the sheriff's office, one of the witnesses described the boy as a bit retarded with a frail build. The sheriff investigated the case and looked for any signs of domestic violence by the parents by asking neighbors and the people around the Duffy's residence. But nothing was found at the end. The authorities asked the parents to take a polygraph test to determine if they were lying, which they both passed. Jimmy was never found, and what happened to him in Wenatchee Lake remains a mystery to this day.